I feel like when people do videos like this, they just kind of hold a mic, but this clunky one is the only one I have. And it's not actually even plugged into anything, because I use the mic on the camera, but that's sort of besides the point. The point of the video is actually juggling, because that's normally what I do. And I finally did my first performance like in front of people that actually paid to be there. I mean, I wasn't the only person they were there to see, but you know, baby steps. I was part of it, and that counts, because normally I'm just like practicing somewhere alone in a cold, dark corner. Nah, that's a lie. That would be really sad. But I've never actually done a show before, and I was fairly unprepared for it, so let's talk about how it went. If you've seen any of my juggling shorts, you may have noticed the occasional background person, and that's because I've been going to a juggling club where I have other people that are so bad at decision making that they throw around knives for fun. Seriously, it's like the only place where you can say, I wonder if I can balance that chair on my face. And everybody else in the room is just like, yeah, no, that sounds like a great idea. Let's do that. I want to see it. Anyway, a couple months ago, we got an invite from the University of Princeton, the juggling club there, because they wanted to get a bunch of local clubs to come and do like a 10 to 15 minute segment each and then put it all together into one big show. I was immediately down for it because I've never really performed before, even though I kind of want to, and I thought it would be a good place to sort of start. But a lot of other people in the club are full-time entertainers, and it either didn't stand out as interesting, or the inconsistent schedule of a professional juggler did not allow for them to come to this thing. Either way, there was enough interest as a whole in the club, so we decided that we would tell them we were coming. They had given us a good bit of heads up, so we figured in that time we would be able to come up with something. However, with the combined time management skills of a group of jugglers, we managed to not really be sure who was going until like a week beforehand. And by this time, the Princeton group was starting to ask all these questions about like what lighting and sound cues we wanted to use for our routine. But my internal monologue at this point was back in that corner from earlier, like, oh no. Because I had kind of assumed that a bunch of juggling clubs getting together would be relatively informal, but these were not informal questions. It was almost like they expected us to have a plan, and that is completely unfair. But we still put together a rough-ish outline of what we were gonna do, like, a couple of days before the actual show. And then early on April Fool's Day, myself and 3 other people from the club were on our way to New Jersey. Our group was a magician, a unicyclist, another juggler, and then myself. That one's me. So at this point, I'm feeling at least a little bit better because we have some kind of a plan. I'm still pretty nervous, but I'm like less worried about it, I guess, at this point. But also, like, we had been invited to a prestigious university, and my plan was to bring a KFC bucket with rubber chickens in it. So, you know, I don't really know where my headspace was at the time. But yeah, we get there, we meet up with some other people that are supposed to be in the show and talk juggling for a little bit. I swear jugglers are always just like the nicest people, because I feel like everybody's just sort of excited to be sharing this like sort of niche hobby with other people, and it's just, I don't know, everybody's all happy. But yeah, like I said, I was kind of calming down at this point, but then the next person that walked in is somebody that I had like actually paid to go see before in like a real show, and I'm back in that mindset of like, oh no, I'm unprepared. But also technically people are paying to see me now, so I sort of do belong here, but it feels weird. So at this point we actually have a few opportunities to like run through the show and practice before we get out there, which is great because we had not practiced as a team before, so not only was this the first time we were doing a run-through as a group, but also the stage crew there was asking us all these questions about like how we wanted to do things, and I just kind of answered everything with like, oh, you know, whatever's easier for you, which basically was translating to, I have no idea what I need or want, just pick something please. But yeah, the stage crew people were great. They got me all mic'd up so that I could tell a couple of jokes while I was juggling, which basically nobody else did. Every other group had stuff that was like choreographed to music, and I'm just over there like, I've got chickens. Also, I had a handful of things that I had been planning on doing for the show, but for the life of me, I could not get right during practice, even though I normally don't have any trouble with it. Like this tennis ball thing. I did a video on this at one point before, where you juggle these balls inside this tube. No problem. Could not get that to work. I don't know why. So that pulled out of the show last minute because I don't want to stand up there and be a fool on April Fool's Day when I'm supposed to be juggling like a fool. The thing I was struggling with the most though was a balancing thing with this axe, where I had the axe balanced on my head, and then the unicyclist would come by and give me other juggling props. I'd drop that down and start juggling things, and then you know, that was the bit. But I just like absolutely could not keep this thing on my head long enough, because as soon as our unicycler got close enough, I would lose focus for half a second and this would just fall down. But I couldn't go the way of the tennis balls with it because it was the only thing that we had planned to incorporate the unicyclist into the show, so like I had to do it. But not like a single time in practice could I keep this thing up long enough for our unicyclist to ride around in little loops around me like this, which I will not be demonstrating right now because I'm currently on a balcony and, well, you know. But anyway, I couldn't ditch it, so while we were waiting to practice for the show, I just had people like running past me while I had this thing on my head, or I was like running around with my arms up in the air like an idiot trying to like wave in front of my face to distract myself and see if I could like push past it and not drop the thing. I'm sure I looked like an idiot, but it felt like it was helping, so I don't know. And then eventually we get the call to walk up this little back hallway to prep for a set because we were on next. Which, side note, all the buildings that we were near were just super cool looking. It felt like a bunch of old castles. Like this hallway was just super, I don't know, it was just neat. And like, look at this stage. Like, this is so nice looking, and everything was stone, and it was wild. Anyway, didn't mean to kill whatever suspense I had there. So let's watch sort of how the show went. Also, not the best footage, but like, we don't have a full-scale camera crew, and we did all right. So enough stalling. I'm just gonna show sort of how this went. So I'm mostly just going to show my part of the show, but I'll link to the full group segment in the description if anyone's interested. I unfortunately don't have links for any of the other acts in the show, unless Princeton happens to upload that eventually, but for now all I have is ours. Anyway, our magician started us out, and I'm showing this because it leads into my stuff.
Is this anybody's bowling ball?
Yeah, that's fine.
Nice.
People don't often think about just how heavy bowling pins are, but these things are made to take a beating. And they are solid pieces of wood. So if I drop these when I'm about to juggle them, I'm bound to lose a toe. But that's fine, because we have 10 of those, and I can do this at least 6 or 7 more times. I'm just kidding. Steel-toed boots. You learn after the first few attempts. So, I'm sure people probably want to see me juggle that, but I'm not quite that stupid. I am dumb though, so I'm going to take this 6-pound medicine ball, or on a good day it's 9, and we're going to try this. I actually wanted to juggle the real bowling ball for this, but was asked not to because they didn't want me to damage their stage or something like that, which I suppose is maybe reasonable, I don't know. After the bowling bit, we go right into my enemy of the day, the head balancing. What you and everyone at the show just saw was the only successful run of that we had all day. Other than that little bit at the end. But that flop got a good laugh, so like that's still a success. I got a little break for a bit while our other juggler did some awesome stuff with glow crops, and then I was back on with my chickens. Time for 30 seconds of nonsense while our magician gets ready again. Stop for lunch on the way here. They've been getting really into this meat alternative stuff. Yeah, these probably aren't as obnoxious as you would expect, but I can break into my rendition of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. We closed out with a comedy escape routine from our magician, and that was the show.
Just drop it, please just drop it.
For our first show, I was really happy with how everything went and I had a really great time with it. I definitely want to do more stuff like that in the future, and now that it's getting warmer, I can hopefully get out and do some street performing stuff, but that's for another day. If you like this style of video, let me know. I've never really done stuff that was just kind of story before, but it was fun to put together, so if people like it, I'm down to keep doing it. Anyway, see you later, I guess. I don't know, I gotta get better at the whole outro thing.